In this pod-slice summary of the Diary of a CEO podcast, Steven Bartlett engages in a highly enlightening discussion with Dr. Daniel Amen, the world's leading expert on the brain. Dr. Amen emphasizes how our brain influences every aspect of our lives and how factors like diet, exercise, quality of sleep, and exposure to harmful substances can impact our cognitive performance. He also mentions the detrimental effect of spending prolonged periods on social media and how it can potentially exhaust our pleasure centers. Dr. Amen, who has extensive experience scanning brains, including those of notable figures like Justin Bieber and Muhammad Ali, identifies some problematic areas in Bartlett's brain scan. He notes apparent signs of toxicity which could have been triggered by exposure to substances such as alcohol, heavy metals, drugs, or even mold. Bartlett's childhood home, filled with clutter and mold around the windows, points to a potential source of toxins. Dr. Amen also observes decreased activity in Bartlett's left prefrontal cortex, an area important for focus and execution. He associates this with potential ADHD-like symptoms. Meanwhile, diminished activity in Bartlett's left temporal lobe could explain certain irritability traits. Potentially significant, however, are noted holes in the scan, which might indicate areas with suboptimal blood flow. Dr. Amen suggests that past exposure to traumatic brain injuries, perhaps from playing soccer in Bartlett's childhood, could be responsible for these anomalies. Interestingly, the analysis of Bartlett's active scan reveals a unique diamond pattern indicative of a subtype of ADHD called overfocused ADHD. This condition may explain Bartlett's obsessive focus on topics of interest and struggle with less engaging subjects. The pattern also suggests traces of emotional trauma. Bartlett infers this may be due to the constant war between his parents during his upbringing and feeling of shame rooted in his socioeconomic distinction from his peers. Dr. Amen leaves the conversation with an optimistic note that with certain interventions, such improvements in diet, increase in exercise, enhancing sleep quality, and reducing exposure to toxins, the health of Bartlett's brain can significantly improve. The conversation demonstrates the deep connection between our environment and our brain health, showing how actions today can impact the longevity and vitality of cognitive performance over time. Steven Bartlett seems to further identify with the traits and symptoms that Dr. Daniel Amen discusses in relation to ADHD and his brain's functioning. Dr. Amen's examination of Bartlett's disorder stems from a diverse range of aspects, including analysis of his parents' behavior and his own academic performance. Bartlett mentions he was often relegated to the exclusion unit at school due to his inability to concentrate and excel academically, earning the label of a useless student but a nice person. Bartlett ascribes his success in entrepreneurship to his keen interest and aptitude in marketing based on creativity, while outsourcing logistics to others. Dr. Amen attributes this success to Bartlett's ADHD traits, shedding a positive light on ADHD by showing that it doesn't hinder one's ability to thrive, provided that one is devoted to their passion. Yet he warns CEOs with ADHD that they should hire people who can assist them in areas where they fall short, rather than hiring those similar to themselves. Further along, the conversation delves into the fascinating idea that the brain's current state is not fixed and can be improved. To do so, it is necessary to identify and avoid things that are detrimental to the brain's health. They discuss several factors that progressively deteriorate the brain's shape and performance, such as sugar, caffeine, alcohol, among others. These substances obstruct blood flow to the brain, leading to various health issues like obesity, diabetes, and potentially dementia. Dr. Amen notes an interesting connection between the high percentage of erectile dysfunction among men and the substandard blood flow in their bodies, hinting towards the possibility of similar decreased blood flow in the brain. He highlights the correlation between gum diseases and brain problems caused by inflammation and recommends an omega-3 rich diet as a preventive measure. Moreover, they touch upon the topic of toxins and their effect on the brain, especially anesthesia and those found in common household items and cosmetics. They recommend using an app called Think Dirty to ascertain the toxicity levels in various products. Both Steven and Dr. Amen discuss the effect of mental health on cognitive functionalities. They stress the necessity of positive thinking and properly dealing with stress and trauma. They also discuss the potential role of medications in treating psychiatric issues. However, it is important to note that Bartlett is noticeably hesitant to use medication, citing his preference for natural remedies. Continuing the conversation, Bartlett and Dr. Amen explore the effects of ADHD medications. They discuss the popular misconceptions regarding medication, where Bartlett confesses his reticence towards it, fearing it might suppress his real, unaltered self. Nonetheless, Dr. Amen presents medication as a tool to optimize brain functionality in those with ADHD, thereby enhancing their focus, organization, and general productivity. A significant part of the discussion focuses on the effects of both positive and negative thoughts on the brain. Dr. Amen shares his theory about automatic negative thoughts, ANTs, stating that ANTs can be quelled by repeatedly questioning their veracity and observing their potential impact on one's feelings and behaviors. He advises the practice of redirecting thoughts from negative to positive, a technique he says can alter the brain's configuration over time. Dr. Amen further emphasizes the adverse effects of chronic stress and trauma on the brain's health. Chronic stress releases a hormone called cortisol, which impacts memory and learning functions in the brain. He suggests that Bartlett's academic struggles might have roots in the stress he experienced as a child due to familial issues. Interestingly, Dr. Amen also touches upon trauma's visible impact on brain scans. It shows up as a distinctive diamond pattern indicative of an active emotional brain plagued with worry, anxiety, and sadness. However, he reassures that this pattern can be mitigated through psychological treatments like EMDR, eye movement desensitization, and reprocessing. Undeniably, the conversation throws light on various aspects of mental health, particularly ADHD, and its impact on brain functionality. It underscores the importance of understanding and treating this condition in an optimized manner, be it through medication, proper stress management, or positive thinking techniques. Further, it re-emphasizes the undeniable link between the brain's health and an individual's overall well-being. Within the podcast transcript, essential points relate to the concept of brain reserve and psychological treatments. Dr. Amen introduces a fascinating idea concerning the concept of brain reserve, which he explains as the baseline brain health an individual brings into any trauma. He illustrates this with a military example, suggesting two soldiers exposed to the same blast could have starkly different outcomes, largely based on the original condition of their brains. Factors such as prenatal care, childhood environment, diet, or chronic stress could decrease your brain reserve, thus potentially influencing how one copes with given traumas. Dr. Amen emphasizes that optimizing brain health could enable you to handle traumatic experiences better, as a healthy brain with low automatic negative thoughts, ANTs, will be more resilient in processing such events. In contrast, a mind infested with ants will struggle more extensively. Adding to the psychological treatments conversation, Dr. Amen points out that traditional psychological treatments can have biological effects. He speaks about a treatment known as eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, EMDR, designed to help individuals deal with major traumatic experiences. His explanation shows how EMDR can desensitize individuals to traumatic experiences, transforming their emotional impacts over time. Another intriguing aspect discussed is the power of mindfulness, especially in dealing with ants. Dr. Amen conveys the power of challenging and confronting negative thoughts and not accepting every thought as an absolute truth. This practice, as per Dr. Amen, significantly contributes to stress management, mental health, and by extension, the health of the brain. The conversation shifts to brain health and its implications for performance in various life aspects, from personal relationships to professional settings. Dr. Amen talks about scanning brains of presidential candidates, bringing up a compelling discussion on brain health's role in determining judgment, forethought, impulse control, and similar attributes that affect decision-making at high stakes. The brain, as per Dr. Amen, has a tendency to form habits, be it positive or negative, depending on what it is allowed to do, thus stressing the importance of creating healthy habits for better brain functioning. This complex transcript extract confirms that both cognitive reserve and psychological treatments have significant impacts on how individuals process trauma and their overall brain health. The practice of questioning and redirecting negative thoughts is a key method to enhance mental and brain health. Brain health isn't just important in personal well-being, but it also has far-reaching implications in professional and societal spheres. Within this phase of the discussion between Steven Bartlett and Dr. Daniel Amen, the topic of mental health, brain health optimization, and their influences on overall well-being continues to hold the spotlight. The discussion offers comprehensive insights into how different biological and paradigmatic elements impact the brain's functions, perceptions, and responses. Dr. Amen addressed the negative effects of news media on mental health, suggesting that constant exposure to negativity in news can distort perception and propagate tendencies towards mental illnesses. He shared the idea of encouraging patients to reflect on positive aspects of their lives at the end of each day to foster healthier thought patterns. He touched on factors affecting immunity and encouraged regular health checks for elements like vitamin D levels. Particular emphasis was placed on the contribution of external factors like migration from sunny climates to areas with lesser sun exposure, which enhances risk of vitamin D deficiency and thereby mental health disorders. Dr. Amen also highlighted how COVID-19 can inflame the brain, contributing negatively to mental health. Dr. Amen emphasized the importance of viewing mental health as brain health, thereby opening avenues for interchangeably optimizing both. Dr. Amen also pointed out how conditions requiring hormonal and psychotropic medications should not be the first resort to treating mental illnesses. Instead, the focus should be on understanding why the brain behaves the way it does and working on it from there. He gave crucial insights on sleep's influence on brain health, using research to show how a good night's sleep actively cleanses the brain of toxins. He linked poor sleep to higher Alzheimer's risk and emphasized how crucial it is to know and manage one's sleep patterns for better brain health. In the quest for better mental health, Dr. Amen stressed the significance of exercise, good diet, and keeping obesity at bay, since excess weight comes with a myriad of negative impacts, including reducing blood flow to the brain and premature brain aging. He added that ensuring optimal hormonal health, limiting sugar intake, and optimizing sleep will also lead to a healthier life. The discussion further deepened into the benefits of breathwork, how high heart rate variability indicates better mental health, and the importance of continued brain health optimization to promote one's overall well-being. Important advice given to listeners battling depressive symptoms was to start by seeking awareness of their situation. By understanding that the depressive feelings may not be them, but their brains reacting to certain stimulus, individuals are encouraged to embark on a journey to investigate their brains, ultimately demystifying the reasons behind their depression. This approach shifts from focusing on the symptoms to addressing the root cause. This wealth of evidence suggests the considerable impacts of lifestyle, health practices, and mindset on cognitive function and mental health. The cumulative effect of these factors can either contribute positively or negatively to brain health, and by extension, the overall quality of life. In an engaging back and forth between Steven Bartlett and Dr. Daniel Amen, they dive into various aspects that directly or indirectly shape our mental and physical health, such as alcohol consumption, decision-making, brain structure, sex, and gender. Steven shares his personal experience of abstaining from alcohol after noticing its adverse effects on his heart rate variability. To expand on this, Dr. Amen explains that even moderate alcohol consumption can cause damage to both the grey and white matter in the brain, leading to disruptions in brain activity and decreased decision-making capacity. This spark of insight leads to a broader discussion on societal norms surrounding alcohol, where Dr. Amen points out the reality of societal pressure to consume alcohol and its propensity to interfere with one's brain health. They discuss how alcohol marketing strategies employed at restaurants, such as offering bread and alcohol, are designed to inhibit frontal lobe functions, essentially causing individuals to spend more. When the focus shifts to comparing the effects of regular, moderate alcohol consumption versus total sobriety over a decade on the brain, Dr. Amen affirms that the drinking individual would likely have lower brain blood flow and a slightly shriveled brain shape. This condition would negatively influence their impulse control, potentially impacting various aspects of life, including marriage, child rearing, and business handling. A further intriguing topic they broach is the relationship between brain health and sexual activity. Dr. Amen emphasizes the brain being the central organ dictating sex drive and performance. Various factors like hormonal health, potential past sexual trauma, and daily habits play a part in defining one's sexual health. He suggests that understanding one's partner's brain can significantly enhance their sex life. For instance, Introducing serotonin-boosting activities like eating pasta or exercising before initiating sex can better prepare their brain for sexual activity. Switching gears to gender differences in brain functioning, Dr. Amen cites a study he published on 46,000 scans, revealing significant differences between male and female brains. Women tend to have better frontal lobe functions, rendering them potentially better leaders, while being more susceptible to depression due to their busier emotional brain. Meanwhile, men with inhibited impulse control are more likely to fall into addiction and criminal activity. Such profound gender-based variances further underline why strategies for managing mental health should be individualized and well considered. In this dialogue session, Dr. Amen and Steven Bartlett continue to delve deeply into the intricate connection between mental and physical health, covering further intriguing topics like suicide rates, the impact of exercise and sauna use on the brain, the detrimental effects of obesity on brain function, the digital era's influence on our mental health, happiness demographic trends across different life stages, and the essentiality of habits in shaping our mental well-being. Dr. Amen underscores that the mainstream depiction of happiness, or success, is often tightly laced with the accumulation of material wealth and external validation, adding strains on our brain's pleasure centers and leading to dysfunctional dopamine production, even in hugely successful figures like Justin Bieber or Miley Cyrus. This often results in an alarming number of suicides, particularly among men, who generally resort to more violent means, and drastic increases in mental health issues among the 21st century generation, largely influenced by digital screens and social media that constantly stimulate their nucleus accumbens. The discussion then swerves to the impact of obesity on the brain, which Dr. Amen defines as an ongoing war against societal norms dine out and inject our bodies with unhealthy fast food that eventually balloons not just our weight but our risks of falling into depression, inflammation, hormonal imbalance, and a significant decrease in brain size and function. Therefore, emphasizing the paramount importance of exercising physically, like sauna, and mentally, by focusing on daily micro moments of happiness and actively practicing gratitude as ways of resetting our mind function and overall life quality. Finally, reflecting on trends of happiness across life stages, Dr. Amen explains that this curve mostly attributes to less striving and goal-oriented behaviors that characterize young to middle-aged individuals. As we age, we tend to be more content and satisfied, thereby experiencing more happiness, despite the brain physically withering. The key is to develop healthy habits that safeguard both the brain and mental well-being. Check out the full podcast by clicking the link in the description below. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for listening to this podcast summary episode of The Pod Slice.